Hello and welcome to Project Justice. I am Utbao Moran. The annual General Conference of the Nigerian Bar Association 2017 opened in Lagos, and we'll bring you highlights of what has been happening since the opening earlier this week. We begin with the conversation with the Vice President, Professor Yemi Oshibajo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Take a look.
There are many factors that an investor obviously will be looking at. Rule of law being one, but not all of it. And what you find is that private sector would usually factor in all of this into its costing, into just making the decision. And many times you will find that, and this is what we're seeing, you'll find that investors are coming and they are investing in various sectors of the economy. Some are improving, increasing investments and all of that. But there is, of course, a significant drawback if people feel that disputes cannot be resolved quickly and efficiently. That's a significant drawback. And there are many who are squeamish about those kinds of things and who will not invest on account of the fact that they are fearful that it may well be that if there's a dispute, it may not be resolved in time, it may give rise to difficulty. And that is that's just a fact of life. And that's one of the reasons why we're trying to improve, delivery, administration of justice, delivery of justice and all of that. And we talked about that a few minutes ago. And you really can't avoid that. It is so fundamental. It's so important. And for me, it's a sort of commitment that we can't take lightly. Whether it is for investment or just doing justice for the ordinary citizen, for the person who just wants a simple matter resolved, it really is our duty to ensure that we provide, a system of justice that delivers on that. And so, working on it on a day-by-day basis is all we can do.
So what changes have your administration made to make sure that the rule of law is no longer as much of a problem for foreign investors?
Well, that's when I was looking earlier. It depends. There are three arms of law that have to work together. And it's difficult, especially because, there has been quite a bit of rot over the years. One of the things we've tried to do is to ensure that we interact with the judiciary in order to bring about the system. One of the things I was speaking about, for example, with respect to special offenses and all that, we're trying to constitute, we're trying to designate courts, we're speaking to the Chief Justice to designate special courts that will be able to deal with these issues. We're also talking about more efficiency in commercial courts, and these are interactions that are going on with the judiciary also. So I think that what we need to do is to engage the judiciary sufficiently. Let the judiciary understand the importance of what they do to the economy. Sometimes that isn't necessarily always well appreciated. And I think that that's a point that we need to make. And it really comes down to working as efficiently as we can with the judiciary. Again, government, by that I mean the executive, cannot by any kind of fear get the administration of justice working efficiently. We simply have to collaborate and cooperate with the judiciary and, of course, with the legislature as well. These are not, in a democracy, these are not necessarily straightforward. They're not necessarily easy, and people don't necessarily work from the same or sing from the same song all the time. But this is an engagement that I think is important. And I think that we've taken the first step by actually sitting down with the judiciary to raise those issues at the highest levels and to see what it is that we need to do to get things going forward.
Okay, my final question, Mr. Vice President. So, if, say, we speak again at the end of this administration's first term, 2019, where will Nigeria be? What promises can you make in terms of some of the changes that ordinary Nigerian citizens will be feeling or will have noticed 2 years from now?
Well, I'm not, let me just say that our commitment is to lead this country with all of the resources that we can bring to the table to lead it honestly, to lead it transparently, and as efficiently as we possibly can in every aspect. The economy, security, fight against corruption, which are the three main issues that we think are on the table. We want to see an improved power infrastructure, especially power and transportation. We're working hard on that. And we want to be able to deliver on aspects of our rail system. We want to improve power supply by the end of our administration. We're definitely going to be self-sufficient in rice production by the end of this administration and several other corporate produce. We think that in several areas of the economy, manufacturing we expect is going to improve. We're going to significantly improve the business environment, the ease of doing business. I think that there are so many areas where there will be greater efficiency and greater delivery. But I think the most important thing is that we are committed to running a government that is transparent, a government that is efficient, a government that serves the people, and that responds to the concerns and to the problems of the Nigerian people. That I think is all that I can say.
And I understand that you can't make any promises because obviously you can't see the future, but I think that, a lot of Nigerians have heard many promises before, under many administrations for many, many years, and they really want to see results. So can you make any assurances beyond just we would like and we want to?
Well, all I can say to you is that these are the projections that we made. And I've spoken about the concrete things. I've spoken about agriculture, what you're going to see in agriculture. We've started our rail. We're doing the Lagos-Kano rail. The contract is already out for concession for Lagos-Kano, which is a narrow gauge. General Electric has stated that we're going to be moving over 1 million tons of goods on that rail by October. We're doing the standard gauge for Lagos-Kano. We're doing Lagos-Calabar as well, which is also a standard gauge rail. We're going to be in mining, for example. We're coming out doing much more efficiently in mining. Mining productivity has improved significantly today. In fact, that's one of the sectors, aside from agriculture, that's also making significant improvements. We're opening up technology. Many young people are getting involved in technology and all of that. So we're going to see more improvement in technology. Power. We're working day by day on power. We expect that we're going to see much greater improvement in power. Much greater improvement because we're using both off-grid and on-grid initiatives now. And of course, we're involving the private sector a great deal. We're expecting that the private sector is already investing considerably more. I want to open up the power sector for more private sector investment. And then there are also many private sector opportunities that are game changing. For example, the oil refinery that's being built in Lagos, 650,000 barrels a day, which is the largest single line refinery in the world. That should be open early 2019. The fertilizer plant 2 in Durama and the one at Dangote is opening. Also the largest single line fertilizer plant in the world. So the future is going to be, the future is certainly very bright. And I think that we're going to do it.
You're still watching Project Justice on AIT. Africa is seen as the next biggest frontier in economy and business. And so the theme of the NBA annual conference, African business penetrating through building institutions, is quite apt. Now these are the highlights of some of the showcase sessions that has been held here.
Now why would you think that the succeeding administration will just walk in, get the members of the House of Assembly to repeal a law? How many such laws have been repealed? The only law I know that has been repealed by a succeeding administration in the university is a law passed by the previous administration making the chief registrar of the River State High Court the chief judge of River State. That was the first law we repealed, where the chief registrar was made to assign cases to judges because the governor closed the courts and did not want the courts to work. But we have told investors, look, we want these courts to work. We want businesses to come. We want you to have confidence that if you have a dispute, it will be speedily resolved. The basic structure of power in Nigeria, the superstructure, is still the same. So what we are doing now really is not to invest more power, but to find partners to take off us. Sahara bought the first set from us, the one that unfortunately we did not make use of the proceeds of, not find the proceeds of the sale, but the assets were sold, not find the proceeds. But in spite of that, we still have a good relationship with Sahara because a lot of things bind us together. First, before the sales were made, debts had accrued from running the power stations. So we still have to sit down with Sahara and see how those things will be paid off. And after the sales were made, debts are still accrued to Sam on the side of Sahara. And we have to give Sahara certain comforts, and especially to the people they are going to, enable them provide power in some of our rural areas where they will provide power free. So we believe that going forward, there will be a lot of improvement in all of this. So there will be more investment in the private sector so that we emphasize the civil service. We emphasize the civil service as the largest employer and look at the private industry as a better employment option. If not, government will simply collapse on our heads. Because as it stands in our university, if you look at what we get as federal allocation, forget idea, what we get as federal allocation, and what our civil service bill is, the salary bill is. The salary bill is almost 70% of what the federal allocation is. If not about 80%, isn't it? Head of service, about 70-80% of what the federal allocation is. Now, is it fair that the few thousand people would consume the whole money that is meant for millions of people in the name of the fact that they are state employees? It's absolutely unfair. So we must think about ways of changing this kind of, these things. It may not happen today, it may not happen tomorrow, but we must live with the practical reality that the state must go. Look at the infrastructure called the University Civil Service. So we believe that in the long term, that all your fears will be addressed. But the first thing is to have confidence in yourself and have confidence in the fact that the government is working for you.
All right, we're still at the annual general conference of the Nigerian Bar Association. With me is the former president of the NBA, Chief OCJ Okocha, senior advocate of Nigeria. Let's do a critique of the theme of the conference itself, which is African business penetrating through institution building. Mr. Okocha, how critical is this topic to the issues currently affecting Africa at the moment?
Very, very critical. You know, we've always said it about Africa, that we have not just a crisis of leadership, we also have a problem with building institutions. That famous saying about, oh, we like to build big men in Africa and forget about building institutions, still holds true till this day. And it is unfortunate. And this is what this conference is trying to drive at, and we must get it right. Because you see, Africa, everybody acknowledges, is the next important destination, you know, for investment, for business, for commerce, for industry. We should not restrict ourselves to just being exporters of produce, agricultural and forest products. We should actually have industries here that run on those products. So it is a very critical conference, and I think that it is important that we are discussing the issues.
How do we relate the issues here to the peculiar context of Nigeria itself? At a time, a lot of people feel development has been slowed down because of the structure of governance in the country.
Yes, that is our own problem here in Nigeria. Because you see, when the departing colonial masters left in 1960, they just patched together what was supposed to be north, west, and eastern regions. Even at that time, the regions had some semi-autonomy with regard to their natural resources. They were establishing industries and contributing to the federation account from what they produced in their regions. And then the Civil War came, and military rule And progressively, we have ended up becoming what is now looking to be a unitary state. And all the major powers are concentrated at the center. And the states are left to go cap in hand begging. Once every so often, monthly are here to share what they call federation accounts. We should allow the regions to progress, the states to progress on their own steam, and then develop their areas based on the resources within their territories.
What is the proper platform for engaging and interrogating these issues? President Buhari, who returned recently, says the National Council of States is there, the National Legislature is there.
The proper platform is the National Legislature. The National Assembly, as it's called. Because the constitution that the departing military administration of General Abdul Salami Abubakar left for us has so many inconsistencies and incongruities. The National Assembly ought to know that it has power to amend the constitution. And how best to do it is obviously by hearing the views and opinions of the various sections of the country. And the National Conference has always been an imperative, but you keep dodging it. And until we address that matter squarely, we will continue to have difficulties. So a national conference and the resolutions there will be transmitted to the National Assembly, which should be nationalistic enough to amend the constitution to suit the interests of the majority of the Nigerian society.
A lot of people would think that the National Assembly had that opportunity in its recent constitution amendment when they voted on very critical bills that had to do with restructuring. How big was that missed opportunity?
Very, very bad. Very bad. You see, it was an opportunity which they ought to have seized and capitalized on it. But you see, there are too many contrary interests in that National Assembly. They claim that they are the elected representatives of the peoples of Nigeria. I call them the so-called elected representatives. They don't speak for me, or neither do they speak for you. Let them hear what people have said. Obasanjo organized a constitutional conference. That ended up in the fiasco of his third term bid. Jonathan did one, and every conclusion reached by that conference was by consensus. I think we should look at that document and find a way to proceed from there.
How critical is this subject to the challenges facing Africa now in terms of development?
It's central to the conversation about development in Africa, about developing businesses in Africa, and also building institutions in Africa. Because it is institutions, very strong institutions, that can guarantee whatever businesses are generated here. And I think that this is about the best time for the MBA to be driving that conversation.
How do you situate this into the context of an interventionist agency like the Niger Delta Development Corporation, which you are currently the chairman of the board?
Well, the NDDC was conceived as a development agency to create an integrated regional economy for the Niger Delta region. So one, it is an institution. Two, it is supposed to drive development in an integrated fashion for the region. So I think that the conversation and the conference also are relevant to what the NDDC is doing.
What's special and different and unique about this annual general conference compared to others? I'm particularly interested in the theme of this conference, which essentially is focused on business and economic development.
Well, the legal profession, must try to contribute its quota towards making for national economic development, and in Nigerian case, revive or resuscitation of the economy. So the conference provides an opportunity for lawyers to brainstorm on possible things to do, not only to improve the economy, but also to improve the wealth base of the people, and also put many Nigerians out of poverty, and things that will engender confidence in the economy to encourage a foreign direct investment and even revival of the local industries, most of which are going under.
Can we really achieve that with the structural challenges we seem to be having, especially in the context of the agitation for restructuring in Nigeria?
Well, it is, to my mind, the structural argument about Nigeria has more to do with sense of being nationhood of the people. It may not have much bearing on the economy of the nation. But if we get things right, it will get to a point government will see that it's much better to develop powers over economic issues to the states than to hold on to everything, and then there's so much waste at the federal level.
In real time, how really do we strengthen the institutions in question?
Well, Nigeria must at all times focus on building institutions that are guided by laws and regulations, not about strong men. I think the NBA president did a lot in emphasizing that. We have a personality cult in Nigeria. And what you see that when a powerful person occupies an institution, that institution appears to do well. And when they go, the institution becomes weak because the focus has been on building that individual or leveraging on the clout of that individual to get things done, rather than leveraging on the laws, establishing those organizations to make sure that, irrespective of who mans them, that they operate optimally to achieve the set objectives for them.
Prof, what's your take on the theme of the conference and the issues outlined in the different breakout sessions for discussion here?
Okay, given the fact that Nigeria is in recession and most African countries are facing economic crisis, the theme of this conference is very apt. And the essence is that, you see, talking of a global, the world is a global village. And one of the problems we have had in most issues, you have international perspectives. And then you also have regional perspectives, as well as national perspectives. So what we're having here is a form of regional perspectives towards doing business in Africa. And it is a very good thing that the Nigerian Bar Association is looking at not just the Nigerian business, but African business. And a lot of people have come from different places, African countries and even in Europe and America, to come and share their experiences here. And this is probably, this conference will be for us a roadmap to get out of the current recession that is being faced in Nigeria and several other African countries. Now, we need this. If you find out now, when you go to Europe, you discover that a lot of people, they are traveling. But you can just ask people, a lot of people have been to Europe, but ask them, how many of them have gone to Togo? How many of them have gone to Ghana? So we don't network. So this opportunity offers a networking platform for African economy so that we can see what Ghana is doing better, how Ghana is picking up, and then we can adopt the same thing for Nigeria. And in the same way, we see what Nigeria is doing better than Ghana and Togo and other countries, and then you have that commonalities. And then this conference will offer a forum to have that regional initiative.
Can we really achieve these ideals with neoliberal policies that essentially dominated by Western capitalist countries still holding forth sway, which a lot of people would say is the biggest impediment to African and regional integration?
Well, I think our problem must be solved with our own local circumstances. Because you can borrow solutions, you can borrow from other countries, but at the same time, we have our own peculiar problems. And the solution can only come within. So that is why what will work for Britain may not work for Nigeria. And we have tried it. I call it copy and paste. Even in our legal system, we have tried to copy and paste the legal system of other countries. And then when you paste it without adaptation. So even if we're adopting any good thing from Ghana, from Togo, from Benin Republic, you still have to adapt it to the peculiar circumstances of Nigeria. So if we don't learn to adopt and adapt whatever you are bringing into Nigeria, to make sure that it blends with the people of Nigeria and with our own local circumstances, it's not going to work for us. So, but this African integration or regional integration is going to come out with a lot of gains. And by the time we are putting the communique together, you can be sure that it's not only going to benefit the Nigerian Bar Association and the Nigerian economy, but other several countries in Africa.
Well, those are some of the highlights from the NBA 2017 Annual General Conference. But beyond the talk, it's about implementing some of the most beautiful suggestions that has been made here on how to strengthen institutions in Nigeria and indeed how to take development as far as the African context is concerned to the global level. Well, that's it on Project Justice for this week. Be sure to follow us on our various social media platforms as usual. And on behalf of the entire production team, I am Utubo Moran. Thank you for staying with us.